Getting to the heart of the matter. Back to Guy, Ben, and Frank with more Inside the News.
Welcome back to Inside the News, and this is our election trail segment. We've got about another 8 or so weeks left. Ben Brunson, Guy Wehman, and Frank Vernuccio. And Frank, that's where we're going to start, is with you. And election trail, Joe Biden is trying to get out there now. He's, I think he's being pushed out by the Democratic Party because he's really reluctant to do this. And he's trying to make his case. Although every time he tries to make it, he gets trumped by Trump.
Well, Biden and the Democratic Party have two problems. Number one, they don't really have a full-fledged Democrat candidate for president who's capable of running the circuit of campaigning in the 50 states. The other problem is that they don't have a lot of issues to run on, except artificial ones. The economy before COVID struck was doing fantastic. Foreign affairs was doing extraordinarily well under the leadership of Donald Trump. We have to look at the Middle East, where peace has broken out, and it looks like the future is even more promising. So we see the pushing of matters by groups like Antifa and BLM, who have abandoned any concept of trying to reason with the rest of the nation and have used force instead. As the campaign progresses, it seems the only thing the Democrats are really running on is we hate Donald Trump, and they've already established that fact. We know they don't like Donald Trump. It's out there. What else is there? The polls continue to look good in many ways for Joe Biden, except when you start to dig deeper. You compare some of the polls, particularly in swing states, to where they were in the 2016 election, and Trump is actually ahead in some of those swing states than where he was in 2016, despite the fact they still give Biden the majority. Going forward, we're looking at a case where, other than mail-in ballots unsecured by any reasonable means, are the only, pardon the expression, trump card that the Democrats actually have. The Biden campaign is simply not catching fire anyplace. Every time he goes out, he embarrasses himself further. So it's a strange election and a significant challenge for the Democrats to reach the public.
You know, Ben, they've only got a couple of key ways to attack Trump, and they're going to try and attack him on his strengths. And yet his support for the military has been unwavered. And this Atlantic article was just horrendous, and I'll give them credit for spreading the lies, but this was an anonymous source. And if you don't have the guts to put your name on a source on an article in a news, well, I don't even want to call it a news magazine, but you've got to be able to, give yourself the byline there.
Well, I think the Atlantic now officially joins the growing list of once respected and respectable media outlets like the New York Times, the Washington Post, and CNN that have become open propaganda organizations for the Democratic Party. This is horrible journalism. It's worthless journalism. It's another hoax. We lived through almost 3 years of nonstop Russia hoax. We now know the facts, that it was all manufactured, fabricated nonsense from the get-go, driven by this media cabal and this deep state Democratic lineup working together. We see the Atlantic doing this now with this story, attacking one of the strengths of Donald Trump, that he's clearly aligned himself as a great president, rebuilding the military. He has turned the VA around completely. He has led for much greater benefits for veterans. And he has really allowed our military to refit and rest and refurbish and to pivot towards the future, which is confronting the growing Chinese threat. And this has all happened under Donald Trump, and they know it. And frankly, I can make a prediction. I don't think it's going out on a limb, but you're going to see a string of these types of hoax stories that are all attacking Donald Trump between now and November 3rd. I would expect some female stories. We'll dig out something about Donald Trump and women. We'll dig out more stories about Donald Trump and tax issues or tax avoidance schemes or whatever. These are all going to happen. This is just one of many, and it's pretty clear based on the official record and all of those who are on the record and who were there at the time, that the Atlantic story is nothing but a fabricated hoax.
Frank, you hit your point. If you can hit your opponent at his strength, then that means that you are able to knock him off his game. Well, the fact is they think that they know Trump. The fact is nobody knows how Trump really inner works except he himself, and he's proven to be a master. He's outwitted them in every avenue along the way, or every jab that they've put his way there, Frank. And it's going to be quite interesting because he came out fighting immediately because this infuriated him, this article.
Yeah, it's a good analysis, Guy. The fact of the matter is the Democrats may have shot themselves in the foot with this one. It has become so obviously false. I believe the Atlantic itself has retracted the story, that it cast a pall on anything else the Democrats are going to throw at Donald Trump. You can expect everything, just as Ben said, to be thrown at him. But I think the miscue with this Atlantic story, which again, Atlantic itself has retracted, is going to make anything else they say seem, quite frankly, ridiculous. I jokingly off air, I mentioned to Ben that if we say on the air that Donald Trump is not really human, that he is actually a plant from the planet Mars sent here to sow disorder, you are going to see someone quoting our story someplace saying, I've heard from a reliable source that Donald Trump is not really human. And a certain segment of the population will, of course, believe that. You're going to see, something like that said by the New York Times, who will quote us, who will then the Washington Post will quote the New York Times, and you get the circular ring of quotations of a story that was obviously false, but is continued by the string of quotes from like-minded sources all over the country. This is what the Democrats have been doing since the election of Donald Trump and the nonsense with Russian collusion.
All right, you heard it here first on Inside the News that Donald Trump is from Mars and his wife Melania is from Venus. Ben, go ahead. Ben, go ahead and take over here. Kamala, she's already slipping in the polls, isn't she?
Well, we knew that was going to happen, but I want to talk a little bit about the Atlantic, which makes the story even worse. When you dig into what occurred and the timing of events, including ad campaigns from the Biden ads from the Biden campaign taking advantage of this story, what you realize and becomes obvious is that the entire story was planned and coordinated among Democratic operatives. So it wasn't just the Atlantic releasing a story. It was operatives within the Biden campaign knowing it was coming, preparing to take advantage of that, having their talking points ready, having ad campaigns ready, all to attack Trump and one of his great strengths that he has clearly established, which is his love of the military and his rebuilding of our military, there's no question as to what he's done, more so than anyone since Ronald Reagan, frankly. And this is really disturbing to see the coordination among these left-wing groups to work with a once respected outlet like the Atlantic to launch this type of propaganda hoax campaign.
You nailed it right there, and we're spot on, Ben, when you said that these ads were already pre-planned. So when the article came out, the ads were coming out the very same day. You talk about a coordination of the story and all. That makes everyone suspect. And you watch everyone behind Donald Trump, and boy, they react with fervor because it's like, you don't disparage our guy because look what he's done to America. He's made America great in 3 years. And the Democrats have been in power for I don't know how long, and all they do is talk. They don't get things done. Okay, enough pontificating here. We're going to be back with our Picking Up the Pieces segment. Stay tuned.
You're listening to Wehman, Brunson, and Vernuccio, Inside the News.